We don't handle money on Shabbat. Really? Okay, so then how do we fund the kingdom? How do we build the kingdom? We have to handle money on Shabbat. But are we handling it to open up a car wash? Why do we collect money on Shabbat and on the Moedim? Are we going to open up a bagel store? No. Are we going to open up, are we buying a condo in Fort Myers Beach? I wish. No. We are collecting the funds to build Yisrael. So we are, notice, we are not to disobey the Ruach HaKodesh as our fathers did in the wilderness. They received the Torah, but then when the Ruach HaKodesh says, this is how you implement the Torah, and you cannot implement the Torah without the voice of Yahweh. That's religion. That's legalism. Trying to implement the Torah without the voice of Yahweh saying, this is the way, walk ye in it. Because if I don't listen to the voice of Yahweh, and I implement the Torah on my own, I will be cruel, I will be thoughtless, I will be without mercy, I will be vain, I will be bringing self-glory to show you how much more Torah I do than you do. You've got to hear the voice of Yahweh showing you and instructing you and leading you and guiding you how to implement the Torah. Because if you don't have the voice of Yahweh showing you how to implement the Torah, you cannot do it in love and in mercy and in equity and righteousness and in judgment. And not in judgment. Make sense? Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Now we go to Maaseh Shlichim, Acts chapter 7, verse 50. Acts, Maaseh Shlichim 7:50. This is the preaching and the teaching of Stephan, or Tzefania, when he was teaching the Sanhedrin, and he was sharing with them the history of our people. Tzefania said, you stiff-necked and uncircumcised? Whoa. You talk about chutzpah. You talk about guts. You talk about backbone. He was not addressing the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. Hello? Tzefania was speaking to the 70 elders, the Nicodemuses, the Nakdimon, Ben Gurions of all Israel. 70 Ben Gurions in one place. We think about David Ben Gurion, who was the father of the modern state of Israel. He was addressing the entire Sanhedrin, and he had no fear for perfect love. Got rid of that fear, somebody. Now check this out. Notice, you stiff-necked and uncircumcised. He says, in lave and in ears, notice, in lave and ears. Notice how the two go together, Rachel? Ears, to hear the voice of Yahweh, how to implement the Torah so that it settles rightfully in your lave and not wrongfully. You do always resist the Ruach HaKodesh, even as your Avot did so to you. That is our problem in Israel. It's our problem in Messianic Judaism. It's our problem in Messianic Israel. It's our problem in the two-house movement. We know the Torah, but we don't implement it with mercy and love and justice, and realizing that that the heart of the Torah is to do right, to build up, to forgive, and to build up lives, even as the Son of Man did not come to destroy men's lives, but to save man's lives. Is any of this making sense? Yes. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. I said Baruch Hashem Yahweh. He's telling the leaders of Israel, you're all stiff-necked. You're all spiritually subluxated in your legs and in your ears. Because you always, now that's a very strong word, isn't it? Always. You always do that. Be careful when you use that word with your husband, your spouse, your children, your loved ones. You always is always. It's a very condemning word. Usually it's not always, right? You always do that. You always say that. You always, no. But here, Tzefania is saying, you always. All Israel, the leaders of Israel, the Sanhedrin of Israel, always in the past, and even in the time of the first century, resist the Ruach HaKodesh as your Avot did. Which of the true Nevi'im have not your Avot persecuted? They have also killed those who before Yeshua before the coming of the Tzaddik one, also spoke righteousness, and then you killed. Listen, here's the problem. Why did the people of Israel kill the prophets of Israel? Does anyone know? Because when Yahweh starts talking, we freak out. We don't mind studying, but when Yahweh speaks to us, we resist what he speaks. We have a tendency in our nature to resist the voice of Yahweh because it's frightening. Can we talk? One of the reasons I don't pray as much as I should, it's frightening to get into the presence of Yahweh because he may tell you something that he's not happy about. And he may tell you something that he wants you to change in your life. And that's radical change. That's a 180-degree change. Yahweh, please let me continue. Please. Everything's nice now. I got a good job. I like where I live. I like where my kids go to school. Please, I don't want to get too close right now because I know there's some things that I need to be closer to the shul. I need to have my kids in a Israelite education. There's certain things, there's certain adjustments that I need to make. And right now, Yahweh is just not financially feasible. So therefore, I won't listen to the rabbi's counsel. And I won't listen to Sister Janet, and I won't listen to Brother Beltrame. Right now, I'm just put on my talit. I'm going to read the Torah. I'm going to sing Et Chaim. But I don't want the voice because the voice will lead me in recognition and cognizance of sin, righteousness, and judgment. My sin, his righteousness ready to replace my sin, and the judgment of my actions if I don't obey his voice. And we as a people have never understood that Shavuot was not about the Torah only, but it was about the temple experience when Yahweh started speaking, not in one tongue, but in 70 tongues, to make sure that every Bubba in the temple could understand that Yahweh is a living Yahweh and that Yahweh speaks. And that's why when you go into most Nazarene congregations, it's like Sidur, Sidur, more Sidur. More Sidur, more Sidur. Why don't they talk to Yahweh off the cuff? Why don't they speak to Yahweh from the heart? Because we have a tendency to resist the Ruach HaKodesh. No notes, Shavuot. No notes. No notes. Just from the Ruach in my heart. Verse 53. Who have received the Torah, notice, like the very commands given to heavenly malachim, but have not kept it. You missed that. We've got Israel's kosher, notice, when it comes to receiving the Torah as the commands of Yahweh, but we're not kosher when it comes to the voice of Yahweh telling us how to implement those commands because we put Yahweh in a box. Does this make any sense? Hello? Are you up? Up and away? Yes. In my beautiful Torah. Look at this. Who have received the Torah like the very commands. Notice, we receive the Torah as the commandments, the mitzvot that they are, as if it were given through heavenly malachim as the Torah was, according to Galatians, given through the ministry of malachim. But we haven't kept it. How can that be? How can we receive the Torah as the word of Yahweh and not keep it? How could people in this room or in any room receive the Torah as the very inspired, written, breathed words of Yahweh and still not keep the Torah? Because when Yahweh speaks and he wants to reveal the Torah and he wants to reveal the word and he wants to explain the word and he wants to personalize. Don't personalize it. I know the 10 Commandments. You shall not steal. You shall not commit adultery. No problem. Let me have my MTV. I'm part of the MTV generation. Yahweh says, aha, that's why you don't want to hear from me, because MTV is the spirit of adultery, and the spirit of adultery is coming into your house, but you quote the 10 Commandments, but you're still drinking of the spirit of adultery. Yes. That's why we resist. What's wrong with hip-hop, Rabbi? I'll have you to know. There's nothing wrong with hip-hop. Well, first thing those boys ought to do is tuck their underwear into their shorts. I don't understand why as soon as you're a hip-hop artist, your underwear has to hang out. Maybe someone can explain that to me. Does that come with the territory?
No. Not black.
I mean, everybody that's a hip-hop artist has their undergarments hanging out. Okay? So that's a spirit that comes into our lives. And see what the voice of Yahweh does, listen, is to personalize the oracles, and that is very intimidating. Let's be honest. And this Shavuot, when Yahweh gave the Torah to our people backed off the mountain. They couldn't take it. They said, Moshe, you've got good ears. You go hear what Yahweh has to say.
All right now.
Okay? That's why people don't come to the rabbi for counseling and for help. They go to every Tom, Dick, and Harry in this congregation because they want to hear what they want to hear. They don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear the rabbi asking them some things that they don't want to deal with. It's not your business. It's not your business. You stay there. I'd rather hear what they have to say. I'd rather hear what she has to say. But he won't understand. And we make all these excuses. Well, the rabbi won't understand. The rabbi's not interested. The rabbi's doing all kinds of excuses. And that's the way we are with Yahweh. So there is a group of believers that believes the Torah is inspired by Yahweh. However, notice, we become hard-hearted and we become stiff-necked and we resist the Ruach HaKodesh and we have not kept it. So according to this, notice, verse 53, Acts chapter 7, Maseh Shlichim, in order to keep the Torah, I wish people would understand this. In order to keep the Torah, you have to be led by the Ruach HaKodesh. Because as many as are led by the Ruach HaKodesh, they are the sons of Yahweh, Romans 8:14. As many as are led by the Ruach HaKodesh, they are the sons of Yahweh. Amen. So how many people know the Torah, but they're not the sons of Yahweh and the daughters of Yahweh because they're not led by the Ruach HaKodesh? Is it easy to be led by the Ruach HaKodesh? No. No. You know why? Because everybody would do it if it was easy. It requires work. It requires work recognizing when you have a baby, a newborn infant, when that baby needs help, what that baby needs. And a mother can differentiate between the cries for milk, between the cries for poop change, between the cries for I need exercise. A mother can differentiate those changes, right? Because she knows the voice. You've got to study the voice. You've got to practice the voice. Those who wait upon Yahweh, wait, tarry, wait. Why did the Ruach HaKodesh fell on Yom Shavuot? Because they tarried, they waited, they practiced. Those who wait upon Yahweh shall renew their strength. They'll mount up with wings like eagles. They will walk and not grow weary. They will run and they shall not faint. Somebody. But you got to wait on Yahweh. Yeshua said, wait. Train yourself to know my voice. I never heard his voice, Rabbi. He doesn't love me as much as he loves you. No. There are certain people in the kingdom that are willing to be exercised in hearing his voice, so they will bear the peaceable fruits of righteousness to those who are being exercised by that training. It's exercise. Bodily exercise profiteth little. It does pay to keep your body in shape. But spiritual exercise has rewards in this life and of the Olam Haba. And we don't train ourselves because it is scary and it's frightening. And that's the main reason I don't spend as much time with Yeshua. I could blame my work. I could blame my computer. I could blame my books. I could blame the restoration of scriptures. This needs to be updated. That Yahweh's not interested. And if I don't train myself to love and seek and care and nurture the sound of his voice, I will know the Torah, but I will walk in judgment. I'll be mean-spirited, I'll be condemning, and I'll lack patience and all the other fruits of the Ruach that Yahweh has given to us. Amen. The way Yeshua says in Luke 24, he says, tarry, train, seek the voice. Don't resist the voice of Yahweh. Luke 24. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Hallelujah. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. He said, look, see, I send the promise of my Abba. Luke 24:49. No Shavuot. I send the promise of my Abba upon you. Remain in the city until you are clothed with power from on high. And then we go down to verse 51. He departs on the ascension to the Shamayim. And notice they obeyed. They were continually in the Beit HaMikdash giving tehilot and brachot to Yahweh. Amen, amen. The Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, didn't just come on this day. They were preparing for it to come by remaining and abiding in the Beit HaMikdash, somebody. You can't come once a month and expect to know His voice. You cannot come on Shabbat every week and expect to know His voice. You need to get alone with Yahweh on the porch and say, I am not leaving. I'll tell you how to hear Yahweh's voice. His guidance, His instructions. It's easy. But are you willing to do it? It's easy. But are you willing to do it? You stay and you say, I will not leave, Yahweh, in reverence for you, in your greatness and your glory, until you speak to me. I don't know what to do. I'm confused. I'm going in circles. Father, I haven't heard your voice in weeks. I don't care if my wife calls.